Exciting day today, everybody. Today we start writing the actual essay. Kind of. Well, we're going to write one sentence. Just one. And if you're thinking, are you kidding me? At this pace, we're going to be working on this thing till March. Look, it's just one important sentence that's going to help you put together the rest of your essay. The sentence I'm talking about is called the thesis, and it's the statement that you're going to have in your intro that will let your reader know what you're doing in this essay. One of the reasons why this thesis sentence is important is because, look, in terms of the rubric that I'm going to use, and just so you know, each paragraph will have its own rubric, which it helps me grade your essay, and I think it helps you know what pieces to put in your essay, and it should help you to remember or figure out what pieces go into each paragraph. So each paragraph will have its own rubric. Now this thesis statement, this thesis sentence is going to go in the intro, and the intro is going to be worth 20 points, and this single sentence is going to carry 7 of those 20 points. This single sentence that we have to put together is composed of your stance, and again, the stance is what position you're taking on the topic of is the internet having a negative impact on our thinking or not. So it's going to start with your stance, and then you also have to provide 2 reasons why you're taking that stance. And I'm going to talk about what do I mean by these reasons in just a sec. But look, here's the thing. You put this thesis together. This is how I feel about the topic, your stance, right? And then 2 reasons, not more, not less, 2 reasons. That first reason is what you're going to build your first body paragraph on. That second reason, that's what you're going to build your second body paragraph on. All right, so these reasons that you come up with, which will be backed up by your evidence and analysis, this single sentence almost provides like a roadmap for a huge portion of your essay. Putting together this single sentence will really make your job of putting together this information into a great argumentative, persuasive essay. It's going to make that job a little bit easier for you. So give me your best today. It's just a single sentence. Give me your best. Now, if you remember back to the burgers versus dogs paragraph we wrote in first quarter, we had to do something similar, right? You were in favor of hamburgers because, and then you guys had 2 reasons, like there's more options for toppings, there's more options for what the patty can be made out of. So, and each one of those, if we made that a larger project than a single paragraph, you could have taken each one of those reasons and built them into full body paragraphs. I mean, I didn't want to devote that much time to that one. I was just going through basic paragraph structure. But this isn't terribly unsimilar. So back on December 8th, I had you guys do an assignment called Stance and Evidence. And if checking out that video is helpful for you again, it's there. What you should do is go into your Google Drive and find that document. You submitted me a copy of it, called Stance and Evidence. Because what you did there is you chose your stance, and then you grabbed a whole bunch of quotes, all right? Technically, you grabbed more quotes than you're going to need to do a nice job on this essay. So what you'll do is you'll look at those quotes that you grabbed. That's going to help, support your stance, and look to see how we can divide those pieces of evidence into 2 categories. Each one of those categories is a reason. Now, do these reasons have to encompass every quote that you grabbed? No, they don't. They really, really don't. because you grabbed more quotes than you actually needed. Some things to kind of keep in the back of your head, though: you are going to have to use at least 3 texts, all right? And probably what might happen is you're going to get most of your quotes from one of the texts. Remember how text 2 and 3 are really heavily in favor of one stance or the other? I imagine you're going to get some stuff from either text 2 or 3. And you grab some stuff from 1 and 4 as well, regardless of which stance you chose. So if you could come up with your reasons just based on actually 2 of those texts, you'll probably be okay, because we'll get to a third text when we get to the counterclaim. Because with the counterclaim, you're going to grab a point from the opposite side, which very well may come from the text 2 or 3, whichever one disagrees with the stance that you're taking. So keep it in the back of your head, but don't let it super drive your reasons. And if you're running the problems, hey, I'm going to be here for you. I'd like to take a couple minutes and kind of throw out some thoughts and ideas of things maybe you should consider when you're coming up with these 2 reasons. So if you're taking the stance of the internet does have a negative impact on our thinking, I'm going to suggest that you kick around the idea of cognitive overload. Cognitive overload is mentioned in text 2, and all cognitive overload is saying that hey, with information, because of the internet, with information being so readily available and quite frankly like coming at us all the time, it's just it fills up our brain, and there's just so much space in here. Our noggins can only do so much at one time. Some other things you might want to consider if you're taking that stance: the loss of deep thinking skills. Right? They talk about how where we seem to be really good at skimming, but when it comes to deeper thinking skills, maybe we've got some work to do on that one. You also might want to bring up the negative impact on our physical brain with the neurons and the synapses, and there's some sciencey stuff in these things you might be worth checking out. And or you might want to consider the negative impact on education that's mentioned in some of these texts. How what with elementary school kids and 15-year-old daughters from somebody in text 1, it's kind of like an example. They're saying, hey, these kids aren't reading long texts anymore. But what if you're taking the stance that the internet does not have a negative impact on our thinking? I got you. Here's some things I think you want to think about. One of them is the idea that hey, this is nothing new. We've had changes before. We've had informational changes before. I mean, the printing press, television, radio. Another thing to think about if you're taking that stance, the idea that are there changes? Yeah. Are they negative? No. Actually, they're positive. Or you can go with the idea that the internet and technology related to it actually enhances our thinking abilities. Now, if you end up looking at the evidence and you come up with some reasons that seem different than the things that I put out there for you to consider, there's no reason you can't pursue that too. So in Schoology, I do have a place for you to submit this single sentence. Take some time. It's going to take some thinking. To be honest, this may be the part of writing this essay that involves the most thinking. So once we get this down, we already got the evidence. We know where you're going. So I'll be putting a place in Schoology to submit this single sentence, but you should keep it somewhere else too. Because why would you want to do this work over again when you're sitting down to put together the whole intro? If you already have it done, just grab it from where you've already had it done. Also know that, although I won't be doing this today, before you actually start writing, I'm going to give you guys an outline to follow, and I'm going to make sure that all the rubrics are available for you to look at, so you always know exactly where your points are coming from. All right? It's just a matter of making sure you put together all the right pieces, and then before you know it, you got an essay that kicks butt. I'm going to get out of here so you can do some thinking and come up with your 2 reasons that are going to help divvy up the pieces of evidence for your essay. If you run into problems, this guy. If you have questions, this guy. You know where I work. Reach out if need be. I'll see you again real soon.